Welcome everyone. I'm your host, Mr.Night-Terror. In the shadows of the night, where darkness dances with fear, welcome to a world of chilling tales that will haunt your dreams and send shivers down your spine. Subscribe to my channel and join me as we embark on this haunting adventure together. But beware, once you enter this realm, there's no turning back. The night was thick with an eerie stillness as we approached the Great Pyramids of Giza, their majestic silhouettes rising ominously against the moonlit sky. 5 adventurers, drawn together by a shared passion for the unknown and the thrill of the forbidden, had decided to sneak into the ancient wonders under the cloak of darkness. Our hearts pounded with excitement and trepidation as we took our first steps toward the enigmatic structures that held countless secrets within. As we tiptoed through the shadows, our footsteps muffled by the desert sands, I couldn't help but feel a creeping sensation down my spine. The thrill of trespassing mixed with the profound history of this place was both exhilarating and chilling. Our group consisted of diverse individuals, each with their unique strengths and secrets. I was the group's photographer, documenting our adventures with an unyielding desire to capture the most extraordinary shots. My reckless spirit was known to take risks to get that perfect shot. But lurking behind my passion for photography was the trauma of losing my twin brother in an expedition gone awry. Guilt clawed at me, and I sought redemption through my work. Sarah, the archaeology enthusiast. Sarah was a scholarly woman in her late 20s with an intense curiosity about ancient civilizations. Little did the rest of us know, she had a haunting family history tied to Egypt. Her ancestors had once been rumored to be involved in forbidden rituals that left a dark stain on her family's name. Sarah hid this fact with a veneer of intellectual prowess, but her unease was evident in the beads of sweat on her brow as we ventured deeper into the pyramid. Mark, the fearless adventurer. Mark was a muscular and bold man in his early 30s, seemingly unafraid of any challenge. However, he carried the burden of surviving a near-fatal encounter in a collapsed cave during a past expedition. The trauma had left him with persistent nightmares and an obsession with proving himself to his late father, an esteemed archaeologist. In the quiet moments, I noticed his strong facade crack, revealing the fear that lay beneath. Emily, the brilliant linguist. Emily was a young prodigy in the field of ancient languages, and her skills with hieroglyphics had opened doors to mysteries few could decipher. But behind her extraordinary talent, Emily struggled with crippling imposter syndrome. She believed her achievements were undeserved and that she was a fraud amongst experts. Her knuckles whitened as she clutched her notebook, the pages filled with meticulous translations and hidden insecurities. David, the tech whiz. David was the tech-savvy member of the group, always carrying an array of gadgets to aid our exploration. He had a brilliant mind, but his childhood had been marked by a strange ability to see and hear things others couldn't, an ability that terrified him and led him to distance himself from others. The faint whispers he heard in the darkness of the pyramid only amplified his unease. As we delved deeper into the heart of the pyramid, we discovered a hidden chamber concealed behind a concealed stone wall. Excitement rippled through our group, each member eager to unearth the secrets it held. But the moment we crossed the threshold into the dimly lit chamber, an oppressive atmosphere settled upon us like a suffocating shroud. At the chamber's center, we stumbled upon an intricately carved doorway, adorned with ancient symbols that glowed with an ominous light. Curiosity and unease battled within us as we exchanged apprehensive glances. Despite the unsettling aura surrounding the doorway, a magnetic force seemed to pull us toward it. As we hesitantly stepped through the glowing portal, little did we know that it was no ordinary chamber, but rather the gateway to something far more sinister: hell itself. The door swung shut behind us, sealing off any hope of retreat. Panic surged through our veins as we realized that we had unwittingly unleashed a malevolent force that would haunt us in the depths of this cursed place. And so, our descent into darkness had just begun, and each member of our group would soon face their most intimate fears and regrets. Unbeknownst to us, the pyramid held malevolent spirits eager to exploit our weaknesses and drag us into the abyss. Only time would tell who among us would emerge unscathed from the horrors that awaited in the heart of the Great Pyramid of Giza. The air in the hidden chamber grew heavier with every step we took, as if unseen eyes were watching our every move. The eerie glow of the ancient symbols on the doorway flickered, casting eerie shadows on the walls around us. A chill ran down my spine, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. As we ventured deeper into the pyramid through the glowing portal, the passageway seemed to twist and turn, leading us further away from the known world. Our footsteps echoed in the darkness, but something else echoed as well. Soft, indistinct whispers that skittered at the edge of hearing. I looked around, trying to discern the source of the mysterious voices, but the darkness concealed their origin. Sarah, always the rational one, tried to dismiss the whispers as mere echoes of the wind or our own imaginations, but I could see that even she was troubled by the strangeness of it all. Mark clenched his fists, his jaw tense, as if trying to block out the haunting sounds that seemed to be growing louder with every step. Emily's usual composure began to waver, and I noticed her hands tremble as she clung to her notebook. Her eyes darted around the passage, searching for answers in the ancient inscriptions on the walls. I reached out to reassure her, but before I could utter a word, an unsettling realization washed over me. The whispers were not just random sounds, they were distinctly personal. The voices seemed to target each member individually, speaking of their deepest fears, regrets, and hidden secrets. How could this be possible? I wondered if the pyramid itself was playing tricks on our minds, or if there was something truly malevolent at play. As we continued down the passageway, the whispers became more insistent, tormenting us with memories we had buried deep within ourselves. My mind flashed back to the fateful day when I lost my twin brother during an ill-fated expedition. The whispers reminded me of every decision I had made that day, every moment where I felt I could have done something differently to save him. Sarah's composure began to crack, and her steps faltered as the whispers dredged up the dark history of her family. She tried to shake off the memories, but they clung to her like a relentless specter. Mark's face turned pale, his nightmares coming to life in the form of spectral voices that mocked his survival. Emily's eyes widened with fear, and she looked on the verge of tears as the whispers questioned her achievements and talents, fueling her self-doubt. David's grip on his gadgets tightened, and his eyes darted frantically, as if trying to find a rational explanation for the haunting voices that resonated in his mind. We stumbled forward, each of us battling the demons that seemed to have emerged from the depths of our souls. The passageway seemed to stretch endlessly, and the whispers intensified, growing more malevolent with every word. It was as if the pyramid knew us better than we knew ourselves, and it used this knowledge to torment us. Finally, after what felt like an eternity of torment, we reached the end of the passageway. Before us stood another ornate doorway, but this one was different. It glowed with an otherworldly light that seemed to pulse with an evil energy. We could feel the malevolence emanating from the threshold, and we knew that passing through this doorway would be no ordinary feat. As we hesitated, unsure of our next move, the passageway behind us began to close. Panic surged through us, and without a second thought we rushed toward the glowing doorway, hoping it would lead us away from the haunting whispers and the malevolent forces that lurked within the pyramid. But little did we know that passing through that doorway would seal our fate, thrusting us into a nightmarish realm beyond comprehension. The pyramid had revealed its true nature, and we were now prisoners of a realm that existed between the world of the living and the gates of hell itself. Our greatest fears and regrets had become our inescapable companions, and the horrors that awaited us were beyond anything we could have ever imagined. As we crossed the threshold of the glowing doorway, an overwhelming sensation washed over us, an unsettling mix of cold dread and suffocating heat. The air crackled with an unnatural energy, and the whispers that had tormented us in the passageway were replaced by an eerie silence. We found ourselves in a vast, desolate chamber that seemed to stretch on indefinitely, its walls adorned with grotesque carvings and ominous symbols. The glow of the doorway faded behind us, leaving us in near darkness. The only source of light emanated from the strange, luminescent symbols that now glowed faintly on the walls, casting distorted shadows around us. We stood there, paralyzed by the realization that we had unwittingly entered a realm beyond our understanding, a realm where the laws of nature and reality no longer held sway. It was then that we heard a haunting melody, a mournful tune that seemed to seep from the very walls themselves. The sound was both beautiful and unsettling, tugging at our souls and enveloping us in a melancholic embrace. We searched for the source of the music but found none. It was as if the chamber itself was alive and singing its lament. With trembling hearts, we pressed forward, drawn by an inexplicable force deeper into the heart of the chamber. Each step felt heavy, as if an invisible burden weighed upon us, forcing us to confront the darkest corners of our minds. As we ventured further, the chamber seemed to change, morphing into nightmarish scenes that mirrored our individual fears and regrets. Shadows danced on the walls, taking form and shape, twisting into haunting images from our past. Sarah's family history came to life before her eyes, an ethereal display of the forbidden rituals that had haunted her bloodline for generations. Mark's nightmare replayed the horrifying cave-in that took his father's life, his father's voice echoing through the darkness, blaming Mark for his demise. Emily was tormented by apparitions that embodied her imposter syndrome, her achievements crumbling before her in a haze of doubt and self-loathing. David's tech gadgets, once his source of comfort, now turned against him, transforming into malevolent figures that whispered his darkest childhood memories. And for me, the chamber conjured a vivid reenactment of the day my twin brother was lost, the guilt and pain resurfacing with raw intensity. We were prisoners of our own fears, trapped in a nightmarish realm that reveled in our suffering. Each step we took further into the abyss seemed to pull us apart, driving a wedge between us as the horrors fed off our vulnerabilities. Our bonds of friendship and camaraderie were fracturing under the weight of the malevolence that surrounded us. In the distance, a faint glow began to emerge, drawing us like moths to a flame. As we approached, we found ourselves standing before another doorway, an eerie gateway that pulsated with crimson light. We hesitated, unsure if we should proceed, but a sinister force compelled us forward. It was as though the pyramid itself had become our malevolent guide, leading us deeper into the abyss. Without warning, the crimson gateway loomed before us, and before we could react, it pulled us in like a voracious vortex. The world around us twisted and contorted, and a sense of weightlessness engulfed us. It was as if we were hurtling through time and space, our existence fragmented and disoriented. When we finally landed, we found ourselves in a realm of torment and anguish, a twisted dimension where our deepest nightmares materialized into horrific spectacles. The true nature of the pyramid was laid bare, and we were mere playthings in this macabre theater of suffering. As we gazed upon the chilling landscape before us, we knew there was no turning back. The only way out was through the harrowing depths of this malevolent realm. The pyramid's secrets had become our living nightmare, and salvation seemed like a distant dream in the haunting abyss we now found ourselves in. The haunting abyss seemed like an eternal void, a realm where time lost all meaning. Our senses were overwhelmed by the oppressive darkness and the relentless torment that surrounded us. As we struggled to find our bearings, sinister figures materialized from the shadows, revealing themselves to be devils, malevolent entities with grotesque features and wicked grins. The devils circled us like vultures, their piercing gazes penetrating our souls. Their voices echoed with malevolence as they spoke, each addressing us with a cruel familiarity that sent shivers down our spines. We were captives in this nightmarish domain, stripped bare of any facade, our deepest secrets exposed for these malevolent beings to exploit. One by one, the devils approached us, separating us into individual cages of torment. Each cage was a reflection of our own personal nightmares, tailored to our darkest memories and regrets. They caged our bodies and unleashed a psychological assault, ensuring that we couldn't escape the horrifying interrogation that awaited us. Sarah's cage was a macabre theater, and the devils replayed the haunting history of her family. They mocked her with the deeds of her ancestors, whispering malevolent rumors and accusations that had plagued her bloodline for centuries. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she tried to defend her innocence, but the devil's cruel laughter drowned out her pleas. In Mark's cage, the devils recreated the cave-in that had taken his father's life. They bombarded him with images of his father's dying moments, fueling his guilt and self-blame. Mark felt the weight of his father's ghostly presence, berating him for surviving that fateful day. Emily's cage was an endless hall of mirrors, reflecting her deepest insecurities. The devils used her own voice to mock her accomplishments, amplifying her fears of being exposed as a fraud. She curled into herself, trying to shield her ears from the relentless taunts. David's cage was filled with apparitions of his childhood fears, the same ones he had tried to distance himself from. The devils whispered sinister secrets that only he knew, tormenting him with the feeling of being watched and hunted by unseen malevolence. And in my cage, the nightmare of losing my twin brother played on an endless loop, each moment of that tragic day replaying before my eyes. The devils fed on my guilt and grief, probing my psyche for any hint of weakness. As the interrogation continued, the devils questioned us about our presence in this realm. They taunted us, demanding to know why we had dared to trespass into this forbidden domain meant only for the damned. With every question, they underscored the futility of our defiance, emphasizing that there was no escape from this hellish realm. They knew our deepest desires and dreams, and they crushed them underfoot with cold, malevolent glee. The devils reveled in our vulnerability, exploiting our darkest secrets and insecurities. We felt like insects trapped in a cruel experiment, a sinister study of human weakness and suffering. As they tormented us, it became clear that they were not merely entities of malevolence, but insidious collectors of souls, eager to claim those who dared to venture into their domain. Their thirst for suffering was insatiable, and we were nothing more than fresh prey in their eternal hunt. Time blurred within the abyss, and we lost track of how long we endured the devil's sadistic games. Each moment felt like an eternity, and our will to resist slowly waned under their relentless onslaught. But within the depths of our despair, a glimmer of determination emerged. We may have been broken, our souls laid bare, but we still clung to the ember of hope. The strength of our bond as a group had not completely vanished, and in that small flicker of unity, we found solace amidst the torment. In the face of darkness, we silently vowed not to let this malevolent realm claim us without a fight. We would muster the strength to defy these devils, to cling to our humanity and our will to survive. But how could we escape from a realm that seemed to defy the very fabric of reality itself? Only time would reveal if we could outwit the malevolent forces that held us captive in the haunting abyss. In the relentless void of the haunting abyss, time ceased to have meaning. It became an interminable cycle of torment and despair, each moment blending into the next. The devils took perverse pleasure in prolonging our suffering, and as our bodies were caged, they descended upon us, relishing in their newfound physical hold on us. The devils had learned our fears and weaknesses through their cruel interrogation, and they wasted no time in exploiting them. They took pleasure in orchestrating our agony, ensuring that every torment was tailored to evoke the deepest pain and fear within us. In Sarah's cage, she was subjected to an ever-shifting labyrinth of scorching flames and freezing cold, her body unable to adapt to the rapid changes. The heat seared her skin, while the cold gnawed at her bones, leaving her in a state of perpetual torment. Each time she tried to find respite, the flames would close in around her, denying her any chance of escape. Mark's cage was a chamber of claustrophobic darkness, and the devils manipulated the walls to squeeze and constrict around him. The darkness seemed to consume him, and his breaths grew shallow as the walls pressed in, threatening to crush him like a mere insect. In Emily's cage, the devils conjured grotesque manifestations of her imposter syndrome. They took the form of spectral critics, spewing venomous words about her inadequacy and mocking her accomplishments. She recoiled from the apparitions, her body trembling in response to their cruel words. David's cage became a treacherous maze filled with devious illusions. The devils played on his ability to perceive things others couldn't, distorting his senses and leading him into perilous dead ends. Each illusion was designed to heighten his anxieties, pushing him to the brink of madness. And in my cage, the devils dredged up the ghost of my twin brother, forcing me to relive his loss again and again. They twisted the memory, making me doubt my every decision that led to that tragic day. I could feel my sanity slipping away as I struggled to maintain a grip on reality. The devils seemed tireless, each torment lasting an eternity, until our bodies ached with pain and our spirits were on the verge of breaking. They reveled in the sight of our suffering, their laughter echoing in the abyss, a chilling symphony of malevolence. But amidst the suffering, we clung to the ember of hope, the strength of our bond as a group. Despite the agony, we silently communicated our determination not to let these malevolent entities break us completely. As the devils continued their relentless assault, we searched for a way to outwit them. We observed the patterns in their actions, looking for any vulnerability in their guard. With every torment, we found hidden clues, tiny cracks in their facade, that offered a glimmer of opportunity. In the midst of the physical and psychological torment, we began to enact a desperate plan, a coordinated effort to distract and deceive the devils. We used our knowledge of each other's fears to provoke the devils' aggression, drawing their focus away from the bigger picture. As the devils focused on one member, the rest of us worked tirelessly to loosen the cages that held us captive. It was a perilous endeavor, requiring immense strength of will and precise timing. We knew that the devils were cunning, and even the slightest mistake could doom us. Each member endured their own suffering, pushing their minds and bodies to the limits, all in the name of survival. The physical pain was excruciating, but the thought of breaking free from this nightmarish realm fueled our determination. Despite the odds, we knew we had to make a stand, to resist the malevolent forces that sought to consume us. Our escape hinged on our ability to synchronize our efforts, to act as one cohesive unit against the darkness that surrounded us. As the haunting abyss echoed with our cries of pain, we steeled ourselves for the ultimate confrontation, an uprising against the devils that would determine our fate in this malevolent realm. Our desperate struggle for freedom had only just begun, and the outcome remained uncertain. The haunting abyss demanded a heavy toll, and we knew that only the strongest of bonds could withstand the malevolence that sought to crush our spirits. In the heart of the abyss, our resolve was put to the ultimate test, and the question remained: would we emerge triumphant against the malevolent forces that held us captive, or would the haunting abyss claim us as yet another set of lost souls? The answer lay in our collective strength and the depth of our determination to survive against all odds. The haunting abyss pulsed with malevolence as we fought tooth and nail to break free from our cages. The devils watched with sinister delight, their laughter echoing through the void, believing they had us completely under their control. But our determination burned brighter than ever before, and we knew we had to make a final stand against the malevolent entities that sought to consume us. With a united effort, we managed to escape our cages, but our victory was short-lived. As we stood defiant before the devils, they unleashed a chilling power that froze us in place, rendering us helpless and immobilized. Our struggles were futile, and it seemed as if the haunting abyss itself had turned against us. The devils circled us like a pack of wolves closing in on their prey, their malevolent grins a haunting testament to our impending doom. They reveled in the terror that gripped our hearts, knowing that our hopes of escape were now shattered. We were at their mercy, and there was no escape from the malevolent fate they had planned for us. One by one, the devils focused their malevolence on each member, inflicting a final torment before claiming our souls. As the first devil approached Sarah, she closed her eyes, bracing herself for the inevitable agony that awaited her. Flames erupted around her, consuming her body in an inferno of unimaginable pain. In her final moments, her eyes met mine, filled with sorrow and acceptance. And then she was gone. Mark was next, and the devils toyed with his fear of confinement. The walls of his cage closed in around him, squeezing him tighter and tighter until he could barely breathe. The torment was unbearable, and his body contorted in anguish before he too was engulfed in flames. Emily's cage became a hall of mirrors once more, but this time the reflections turned monstrous, mocking her relentlessly until she fell to her knees, broken and defeated. The devils consumed her soul with a terrifying display of their malevolent power. David's torment was beyond comprehension, as the devils exploited his childhood fears, turning the illusionary monsters into terrifying realities. He screamed in terror as the horrors closed in around him, leaving him no choice but to succumb to the flames that swallowed him whole. As the last remaining member, I watched helplessly as my friends were consumed by the malevolence of the haunting abyss. Tears welled up in my eyes, but I refused to let fear dominate me. My heart pounded in my chest, and I drew upon every ounce of strength I had left to confront the devils before me. But the malevolent entities took no chances with me. They encircled me, their sinister presence overwhelming. In their final act of cruelty, they combined their powers, and flames surged from all directions. The scorching heat seared my skin, and I felt my body slowly disintegrating into ashes. In those excruciating moments, I felt the darkness closing in, and my thoughts turned to my lost friends. The haunting abyss had claimed each of them, and now it was my turn to join them in eternal torment. As my vision blurred and my consciousness faded, the devils feasted on our souls, reveling in their cruel victory. We were forever lost in the malevolent abyss, condemned to suffer for all eternity. And thus, our ill-fated journey into the depths of the Great Pyramid of Giza had come to a devastating end. Our spirits were forever trapped in the haunting abyss, a testament to the dangers of delving too deep into the unknown, of daring to confront the ancient mysteries that lay beyond mortal comprehension. Our story, filled with horror and despair, would become a cautionary tale, a grim reminder of the insidious forces that lurk in the darkness and the irreversible consequences of seeking forbidden knowledge. As for the Great Pyramid of Giza, it remained a timeless enigma, hiding its secrets within its ancient walls, forever guarded by the malevolent entities that had claimed our souls. The haunting abyss had claimed its victims, leaving behind nothing but echoes of our tragic fate, an eternal testament to the unfathomable horrors that dwell in the shadows, waiting for the next intrepid soul to venture into the forbidden depths. I'm Mr. Night-Terror, your host, and I thank you for watching and experiencing this story with me. Remember to like and subscribe to my channel, as I will be narrating many more scary stories in the upcoming days. If you have an idea of a story you would like me to narrate, please leave a request and description in the comments. And as always, stay scared, my friends.